Hi, hello, listeners out there and viewers. Welcome to the Melting Pot, our regular weekly talk show about things happening in Liberia. Liberia is all we have, and staying silent is not an option. Okay, so we're here again. I'm Dr. Clarence RPS, and I have with me Dr. Emmanuel Deke. Dr. Deke, welcome, sir.
Thank you so much. Again, I'm humbled to always be here on the melting pot to give to our Liberian people what they deserve. And Liberia is the only country we have. There's no time for us to keep silent.
Right. So today we have a couple of interesting topics to go through. If I can just say the first two and then you say the second two to balance it out. I
That's
know
good.
we will be discussing today issues surrounding what do we make of former President Weah's absence from the UNGA meeting. You remember President Boakai had asked that former presidents and our Nobel Peace Prize winner Lyman Bowie make an appearance at the UNGA so they can add the voice to our bid for the UNGA seat. They call it non-permanent member seat. And I know we're also going to have another conversation around Speaker and Representative Fanati Koffa saying that the UP change is nothing but a fake change.
And then we
That's
also
what happened today.
yeah, that really make me to laugh. And then on the third item, we're gonna look at with President Joseph Boakai act on the Commerce Minister. We're talking about Modad and the LRA Director Jallah, the MedTech 90. We're talking about 96,000 vehicle saga. So we're gonna look at that. Whether President Boakai is gonna take some actions, or he's just gonna let it slide. The
Right.
fourth one would be after nearly 2 years, the late Charlotte Musu, she was laid to rest, and then the former Justice Minister Musu Scott, she asked God to expose the murderer. So we're gonna be looking at that statement she made, the intent and all of that.
Wow, wow. That's a lot. That's a lot. That's a lot. It's
Yeah.
heavy tonight.
Yes. And then you can see the fifth one.
Our school system is struggling. We know that our education system is struggling in Liberia, and we
Right.
just saw mass failure of our young people who are attempting to go to university, but there's a mass failure of our young people, and then we want to delve into that furthermore and to understand what's going on behind the scene there. Why are people failing? Why Guinea performing better than us? Why Sierra Leone performing better than us? Why Ghana performing better than us? And our situation is not just from today. Since 2005 up to now, 2016, 42,000 young people took that same exam, only one pass in 2016. So we knew the problem. Why can't we fix it?
Right.
That's a conversation we got to have. So if you're just joining us, this is a melting pot. We encourage you to please share this show, or share this show as much as you can, so that others can come on. And thank you for joining us tonight. If you have any question tonight, just put your questions just comment, and we'll flag your comments or your questions in our discussion, and then we'll respond to it if we need to respond to it. So yeah, let's without any further delay, we're looking quickly at the UNGA. Is that correct?
Yeah. Let's look at the UNGA, the United Nations General Assembly. The non-permanent membership actually focusing on the security sector where Liberia could have a voice. Because remember now, Liberia is one of the founding members of the United Nations.
Right.
So indeed, they should have that spot to be able to make, a decision, be part of, a founding decision. But the absence of former President George Weah shows that the Liberian government still have a lot of work to do. It shows some level of divisiveness, and in my opinion, I'm afraid that they might not be able to have that seat, which of course is totally against the country.
But some would say that, look, let be honest with ourselves, Mr. Deke. The way I see it is this, right? Since President Boakai won the presidency,
Right.
he has shown no cordiality in relationship, like president to president, or sitting president to former president to
Right.
President George Weah. And I think all we've seen over the past couple of weeks, the past 9 months, was just gross disrespect to his counterpart. So I'm thinking to myself, how can you and your counterpart be going, a loggerhead on issues of respect, and you expect to just send them an invitation to come and join you for your own efforts, and you think they will just join you. I mean, that's how I see it. I see it from that perspective as well.
Yeah, and technically, you are quite correct because the government supposed to respect. You should have a mutual respect with the former president because remember, before Joseph or President Joseph Boakai became president, he was a vice president. He was not in office, and he lived all his life in Liberia. And I think he has some level of protection from the former government, which is the proper government. I'm not here to support the proper government. Like I said, they also miserably failed. But I mean, we didn't see that kind of gross disrespect, from the proper government that we are seeing now today from the rescue government. So President George Weah, with all fairness, deserves some sort of security, some sort of respect because he's a former president. So you see how the level of abuse and I don't maybe let me look for a good word to use, disrespect is being deepened within the country. So you without that cordial relationship, it's going to be difficult because remember, President George Weah also has his own colleagues
Right.
outside. He has people that he rubs shoulders around the same way with President Joseph Boakai. So it is a game that the Liberian people will feel, like I said, it always bow down to voting your conscience. Whatever you vote for is what you receive.
Thank you, Mr. David. So if you're just joining us, you are listening to The Melting Pot. This is a weekly broadcast on air every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and we discuss national issues. Right now, we're discussing the issue about why President Boakai did not show up with Madam Salif at the United Nations, where where President Boakai had gone and called on former President to show some force, where they can together join hands and push the cause for Liberia to be accepted as one of the non-permanent members. But now, this is another take of mine, right?
Mhm.
So, like that seat, even though it's like ceremonious, you don't have like real good. You don't have a vote on the Security Council when major decisions are being made. But it does give you your country. It does give the country some sense of some
No,
level of prestige, right, in the international
right.
community. So I would think that despite the differences, now I already said that you know President Boakai may have shown a lot of disrespect to President Weah, but I would think that when it comes to the interest of Liberia over our personal interest, I would think that if I'm President Weah, this will be one situation where I will swallow my pride and swallow my anger and say, let me show up for my country. But what I'm getting is that President William must have already communicated his support through writing. So he didn't find it necessary to go and stand and show face like President Ellen Johnson Sirleaf did. And I didn't also see Lehman Bowie there as well in any of the photos that he took. I saw Ambassador Maron Cassell. I didn't see Lehman Bowie.
Yeah, and I wouldn't want to confirm that because I cannot authenticate, that former President Weah sent in a communication. But in my opinion, I think it would have been noteworthy for him to appear in person so that he could represent Liberia. But again, he wrote a communication to President Joseph Boakai and he laid out some points. And he was saying in his communication, we need to have mutual respect. You have to respect me as a former president. So my expectation of President Boakai, he was going to call former President George Weah to sit on the table, and settle things in house before they could go at the United Nations General Assembly. So it also brought a disgrace on the country because remember now, even though the position might be non-essential, in a sense that they're not going to be making major decisions, but it also bring notoriety to the country as a founding member of the United Nations. So yeah, it's a manners for the government of Liberia.
It's a manners for the government of Liberia. I would take that any day. So now as we look at it, just to finish up on this topic, because we're almost exhausting our 10 10 minutes on it. But we cannot take away from the fact that President Weah did initiate this conversation during his tenure as president, and he had already struck a deal with the with ECOWAS, with AU, and and his counterpart in the West African sub-region to ensure that Liberia get this position. I think, if I can recall, I think he even gave up, I think, a role that he should have had, Liberia should have had at the AU, in order to get his colleague to buy into this to this position. So do you think that maybe he was already certain that we're going to get this, and that he already struck the deal, and there's no need for him to even make any further attempt to push it?
No, but let's say, for example, let me just give a hypothetical situation where, for instance, you rented a house, you pay the full amount for the rent, let's say a year rent, and then let's say 6 months, and then you decided that, well, maybe one of your colleagues decide, okay, because I think that the person have paid for this house. Since he's not going, he won't be present. He doesn't want to be there. I'm going to be in the place. Do you think the landlord will really honor you, even though they might see you and accept you as being an affiliate or that the person, but it still doesn't change the fact that the person was the one who paid for the rental expense of that property. So what am I trying to say is that, in short, former President George Weah was the one who started the conversation. And definitely, they needed him to be on board. I mean, President Boakai should have done everything in his power, to unite. That's one thing. They need to form a former president along with the president guild, where they can all have some time and sit down and discuss about the future of Liberia. We have to put politics aside, because Liberia is actually having some serious challenges when it comes to leadership.
I agree with you on that. So then our young people can also learn from this that listen, when it comes to pushing Liberia's interests first, then there cannot be this mom party versus your party, unity party. They should know when to draw the line. They should know when to put partisanship aside. They should know when to put the political differences aside when it comes to the importance of Liberia. One of our viewers, Ruben Gold, says something on the screen that I have on the screen, that he says Liberia faces critical issues including leadership, accountability, education reform, and justice for Charloe Musu. So the first thing I see there when he says leadership comes to play in this conversation, correct?
Correct, and that's correct. It tells you that Liberia has lapses in leadership. Because there's a difference between governance and leadership. You can have leaders, but they just don't know how to govern. So you have to have the different skills. So, for instance, when President George Weah pointed out, indeed, we all knew that it was going to have a negative impact. So right away, if I was going to be President Joseph Boakai, I would have initiated conversation with him. Since he being the older folks, I'm like, oh, my son, even though, he's not his biological son, but technically he could be. And say, look, let us sit down and discuss this thing. This is in the interest of the country. I know former President George Weah, who have endorsed the whole conversation, and they will have gone down there as a team. So now the question is that whether they're going to get the seat, I'm not sure. That's something that you and I don't have answers to, but we're going to leave that in the coming weeks and months, and we're going to see what's going to happen.
Yeah, we're going to leave that in the coming weeks and months and see what's going to happen. President Boakai needed President Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, President Weah, and even Lehman Bowie to have been at the UNGA to help add their voices towards our call for acceptance on the United Nations as a non-permanent member. But President Boakai did not get the presence of President George Weah. And I think what I'm hearing from my colleague and myself is that, look, listen, as leaders, you got to show leadership. You have to know when to put your personal grievances aside. That's and your pride aside, and put the country first. So like Dr. Deke said that, look, we don't know exactly whether we're going to get this seat or not, but I think this deal was a done deal. With President former President, we are getting the support of his friends in the United Nations and within AU and ECOWAS to support Liberia for this deal. So let's hope and pray that this goes through. We know it's just ceremonious, but whatever that will push Liberia's cause out there and put Liberia on the map is something we want to have for our country. That takes us to our next conversation for tonight, Mr. Daking.
Yeah, that appears. I know we're going to get to the fake change, but I hope that this will be a lesson to our future leaders. That in the future we have to work together as a team. So, let's talk about the Speaker of the House, Representative Fonati Koffa. He calls the Unity Party change a fake change. So first of all, this is the Speaker of the Honorable House of Representatives in Liberia, and he's part of the government, but he's from the Congress for Democratic Change. And he served as the third person. The Speaker is the third person in the country.
Right.
So technically, he represents the House, the lower house. And then he's saying, well, he has confirmed that the Unity Party, what he's trying to say, they don't mean any business. It means that whatever they came to do, they are all lies. I'm just interpreting what he's saying. When you say something is fake, now it brought something to my mind. When Liberian men say fake, like in America, when something is fake, for instance, if you say the pack of my glasses is fake, it means there is an original of this pack somewhere, right?
Right.
But when the Liberian men say it's fake, that doesn't mean they have the original. It's because maybe it doesn't have the same name, so they think it's fake. So you have to understand the definition when a Liberian man says something is fake. So he said it's a fake change. So he is saying the Unity Party, they have already failed. They're not going to do anything. In the 9 months, everything they promised, they are all turned out to be lies. President Boakai said that no car was going to get stuck in the mud, which of course we found out is a false. We see officials of government, they are embezzling money today as compared to the pro government. So it also turned out that accountability, like he said he stood for, were also false. So we can confirm now. I can sit in my seat and with confidence and say that the Speaker of the House has confirmed my information that the Unity Party government is a fake. What they came to do, they have not done 1% of them. So what he's saying, it makes a whole lot of sense. But how does it benefit? How does the information benefit Liberians? And that's my area of interest with this point of discussion. He was giving the speech in the Staten Island to the Liberian community.
Right.
And he was telling them that they have failed because he also part of the government. So everything they're telling the Liberian people, they are all fake. So which means they are all lies. It's not true. That they told them they were going to provide good governance. They were going to manage the financial system. They were going to provide jobs for the people. The budget were going to work in the interest of the Liberian people. They all turned out to be lies. So when a Liberian man says something is fake, it means lies. So it all turned out to be lies. So that was why Speaker Koffa said that they have all lied to the Liberian people.
So my take on this is that it's one thing to just say that the rescue government came to make change, and from what we've seen so far, what the change that they promise is nothing but fake change. Like you listed some of the things, right? The roles, whether they would have gone to bring people's salaries back to status quo. Whether which called the harmonization should have reversed the harmonization, right? Mm-hmm. Which of course they didn't do. They promised to have gone maybe to improve civil servant salary. That has not happened. Even health worker salaries has not happened. And they even promised that when they get into power, we'll not see business as usual.
Yep.
And, and all of these things. But it's Speaker Koffa, in my mind, is Speaker Koffa, who is part of the National Legislature, the 55th, and Speaker of the House that also make the laws and pass budgets and other things. Is it the right person to be making that kind of statement? Isn't it that all of them are responsible to bring this change?
Oh yeah, but he's already confessing to the Liberian people that Indeed, the change that were promised to them, they are all turned out to be lies. And because he from the opposition party, he stands to, to speak on behalf of his party. But what I want to really focus on is what Speaker Koffa is saying. Are they true? Are these things that we're talking about? Can we vividly see them? Do we see them in Liberia? Are they in Liberia? For instance, the roads. Do we have developed roads in Liberia? Because the President Boakai, in doing his inauguration speech, he said that in his first 100 days there will be no car that will get stuck on any of the roads in Liberia. Today, it's not true. He also said that he will make sure that people will give account, right? People will be prosecuted in the court of law, and he was going to initiate the war crimes court. Today, they all slacking behind. They appointed someone that were full of flogs, allegedly full of flogs. They had to take it out since he got from there. Who's the next person that been appointed? How far have we gone with the war and economics crime court? So it tells us it's also not turning out to be true. Let's go to the economy. Today, the economy, we have a higher inflation. People, the propo government harmonized salary compensation for government employee, but the rescue government king, they remove the harmonization and they are laying people off. Okay, and now they said they were doing head counts. When the head counts came about, they took a lot of people out of job. Now they coming to do credential audits. I mean, let's be realistic. Not many people in Liberia that are very educated. I mean, at some point, they are, and those people been having that job for so many, for so many time, for so long. I mean, and now you're going to take so many people going to be affected from credential audits as well. So what they're going to do, they're going to lay that off. When you take people from job and you don't create avenue that they're going to earn money, you introduce those people to hardship. So that's why we have so many hardships. So one thing that this government had done to be good, I want you to tell me one thing that this government has done in the last 9 months that have proven to be good. The rescue government.
Well, I would say that they signed the executive order for the establishment of the War Crimes Court.
Has the war crimes been established, Dr. Pearson?
But I mean, that's something.
Okay,
That is something to show.
I agree, and more needs to be done. I mean, the government need to put in more. We need to see people being on trial. I mean, we have seen in the past, previous government, the proper government assured us like what the rescue government is doing. They are showing us now. We saw that. We heard that assurance before. And the people of Liberia today, they are taking the streets. They are getting angry. Something has to be done. We can't keep lying to our people. So the change there's still more time for them. They just gone 9 months. Even though they failed for the first 100 days, I'm not going to mince my word. We are on the melting pot. Definitely, we can show that they have failed for the first 100 days, but they still have more time to recover. They need to straight. Maybe it was just a learning point for them. But these people are people who were in government before. They were in government for I think 12 years. It took them from government, so it shouldn't be a learning experience for them. And President Boakai, he has about over 40 years of experience in government. So I mean, he's not a novice. I mean, this is someone that has a very cognizant about how government should run. So definitely they have to do something better. They have to double up their efforts. Even education. When we come down, we will talk about it, but they have to double up. When you look at the budget, if you look at the budget, they allocated the entire budget is $738,859,827. The whole country budget, the recast budget. And do you know how much were allocated for compensation, salary expense? If it was 301,860,448.
Wow.
And don't the real wow is coming. Because I got my master's in finance. So financial transactions It's where when you are a manager, it's always pays for you to be having accounting knowledge, because accountants know where they can place money. They place money in different areas so that they can be able to get them. And that was what happened to this budget. So if you look at salary, right, Liberia now, there should be about 6 million people, right?
Yeah,
About between 6 to 7 million people.
five,
So
five to six. Yeah.
yeah, technically, it's just a tentative projection. So if you're giving $738 million, $589,827, I mean, it's just how many percentage going to salary? But that is what's surprising. On goods and services, good, I think you understand. But just for our common people to know what goods and services are, the different services they're going to be offering. Guess how much they allocated for goods and services in the budget? 114 million.
Wow.
$627 and $27,651.
They won't go to. They say I buying real machine. I buying
Very much cheap.
ink.
Buying computer. Now, but then before I let you come in, this is the one that really, really surprised me. There are two of them: subsidies and grants. Do you want to know how much they give for subsidies and grants? Let me tell you how much they give. The Liberian government gave subsidies 3 million.
Wow.
436,777. But guess what? Grants. We all understand why grant mean that free money, right? Somebody give you money. How many grants have the Liberian government given out to people? You know how many allocated? 112 million. $711,367.
Wow.
This money is free money. Why don't you take about 25% of this money each and add it on salary and education? Do you want to know how much they get on education? But let's go ahead, man. It's so pathetic.
It is sad. It is sad. So you're viewing the Melting Pot, a Liberian broadcasting program, and our intention here is to just make sure our voices are heard on issues that are pertaining to Liberia. So wherever you are, I understand from our statistics, we have been photoed in Sierra Leone, in Ivory Coast, and in Guinea. So if you are following us in Ghana as well, if you're following us in Liberia, even outside in the diaspora, Liberians, and you want to say something on the topic we're discussing, you can say something, and we'll put your views up so that people can see what you say. So Speaker Fanatic Koffa said this few days in New York City, starting out, and he said, Joseph Boakai and UP change is a fake change. Yeah. And that's what we're discussing now. What makes it a fake change? And I think his argument is that all of the promises the Liberian people so far, they failed to meet those promises in the last 9 months. And even that the attempts that they are making is all false start, meaning they're making too many blunders, too many mistakes in the process. Well, it's hard to dispute that because we all can see it for ourselves. All right, but again, before we leave from this topic, you mentioned something, Doc, and what you mentioned was the issue about the Civil Service Agency, Jukaya, trying to go ahead and evaluate the credentials of civil servants. And from my own professional background that I did, some of the studies that I did at LIPA in Liberia, the Professional Institute in Liberia, LIPA, those are not civil servants. Civil servants documentation is not something small that you are able to audit. And how do you even do that audit? Some people being in that system for over 10 years, 15 years, 20 years. How do you audit them? What is the realistic measure you're going to use to audit their credentials? And not to mention, even the appointed officials already coming to the government with fake credentials. Then are you going to punish civil servants for their credential when the real people who making the real money, say, in agencies and SOEs and in ministries and over top government officials, they don't even have correct credentials? You're going down to the people making 250, 150 to go look at their credentials. What are we talking here? That is worrisome.
And that appears that have been cultural in Liberia. In fact, I was a victim of that. I remember when I went to Liberia when I was the associate dean at the Stars University, and I was one of the professors at AMU University. Later on, I became the dean for the master's program. When they want to take you and set you up in Liberia and take you out of your job. That's the strategy they use. So it's cultural. They'll say, "Oh, that the person got fake credential. He didn't go to school." So that's cultural and money, and that's how they've been doing things. In fact, they did it to me, and we had to go to court, and then they all just went away because they said they had no proof to say anything. So when they say fake, it's not that they got original, but and when they say fake, they just come up with that kind of blanket statement. That's how Liberians do. So they used to that word. And but I know Jokel very well. He's my comrade. We graduated together with the same class in the University of Liberia. He's a fine gentleman. I like him. We did a lot of courses together. And he's a smart guy. But I think where it have reached, I'm still watching to see the yardstick they're going to use to really audit the credential. Whether they have the resources, and they have the resources. I'm hoping that they can allocate it for other means, so that the country the citizens can benefit. Because the very first time you're supposed to do credential audits is when the person entering your institution. Now, when they have accepted into a position, then you want to audit their credential. I mean, when you audit that credential, what you're going to do? You're going to give them severance pay to lay them off, or what? Or you're just going to take them off their job and tell them to go? So these are things. So before you take such actions, you have to research. So I don't know at which length they have gone to research this issue, before coming up with credential audits. But again, we watch to see. We saw what the hair counts did, the negative effects they had on the country, the citizens, and going against the rescue government as well. We're also going to follow what the credential audit is going to bring. So we have to be careful how we go. In Liberia is a illiterate population. The people, they are not literate. So if you want to bring up this thing, try to bring up program and educate the people about it. Because if you're going to take thousands of people off their job, you are causing chaos. I mean, people will come after you. They will not forgive you, because that's where they're getting that daily bread from. But again, we'll leave that with the rescue team so we can see how they're going to go. But definitely, I can say to you, in my opinion, that the rescue government is taking the wrong train, and they need to come back on track.
The rescue government is taking the wrong track, and they need to come back on track. The train is heading in the wrong direction. So, ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, boys and girls, Prophet Key can say, if you view us, you are viewing the Melting Pot. It's a Liberian broadcasting program intended to keep Liberians abreast of the happenings in their country. And then we bring up these issues and we have a conversation. If you have anything to say or to contribute questions on your mind, tap it up in the chat. If you're on YouTube, subscribe. If you're on LinkedIn, you can comment. If you're on Facebook, you can comment, and we'll post your comment, and we'll follow up on your comment. If it has to be followed up on all your questions, we'll try to answer them. It takes us to our next point, Doc. Our next point: will President Boakai take action, at least when he returned from the UNGA meeting, on the Modad Director Jallah and the MedTech 97K car issue? Wait, President Boakai for not taking action, but you think he would take action on the one since it's making noise?
Well, that appears this is going to be the first test to President Joseph Boakai leadership in his decision-making skills. Remember now, I always like to speak from an experience when former President George Weah was president, and we saw innocent people being murdered. We saw how financial malpractices were at a higher peak. And we also found out that warlords were not being persecuted. We brought these things to the attention of former President George Weah, and that's where his mistake came from. President George Weah is a former president today because he failed to take decisive decisions, and that's what led him today to be booted out of the presidency. And this is something that we're seeing that's going to happen in the future if President Joseph Boakai is not careful, because the Liberian people needs him to act. He has to. And I posited that he, the pressure is on him, not just from Liberia, also from the international scene. We have a whole lot of pressure that on President Joseph Boakai. He has to take a decision, because you can't have people living on half of a dollar, and you have your government official, they're living luxuries of life. I mean, living in luxury. You can do that. You mean it's just that you're one in a community, you got generator, but all the other people in your community, they're all using Keno and lantern. What's going to happen? One night they're just going to set your place ablaze. And, they're going to get angry. So President Boakai needs to act now, because this was the same thing the preacher gives. It was because of these messages that brought them to power.
Right.
2023, that former President George Weah was not holding his officials of government accountable. Former President George Weah was not persecuting people when there was secret killing going on in the country. Former President George Weah didn't have a good financial system, all of that. So what happened today? He's not a president. The people voted against him and said, "No, you got to leave." What is hurting me most is that they trusted President Boakai. They entrusted him with the presidency. He said, "Look, we understand, President Boakai. You were former president former vice president for 12 years. You say you was a packer, but we believe that you will be awake this time. We will give you this country for 6 years. Take it. Make us shame. Show to us that you have that leadership skills. But let the Liberian people be a judge. Again, we don't come here to pass judgment. We don't do that at the melting pot. But we open the minds of the people so the Liberian people can decide for themselves. Is President Boakai actually yielding the result that we put in the presidency for? Is he meeting up with his promises? Those things he talked about, are he giving them? So that the Liberian people decide. Because when you enter the voting place to vote, it is with you and your voting people. You are voting your conscience, Dr. Pearson. Your vote represents your life and your children's future.
So no, this is how I see it, right? In leadership, one of the cardinal functions of leadership is effective decision making.
Absolutely.
And you have to be decisive in how you make a decision. I think it's troubling to have a president when things are happening in the country and things are going on in the country and you just mute about it. And I think this is one of the things that they beat on George Weah for so many times. They beat on in fact, I think President Boakai is even on video calling President Weah, former President Weah, Bobo Senator.
Bobo president. Yeah, Bobo Senator. Yeah,
Bobo Senator. He said the member in the Senate and he never said a word one day. And but this is President Boakai, who there are things are happening in the country, and he doesn't say anything about it. Look, the grace pay issue. Before grace pay could even get in government, before President Boakai could even get into government, grace pay of all president was one of those who did not show in regard for rules and procedure. He went to NASCAR, the people pension money to take $500,000 from there to buy a vehicle costing $100,000 each. His party chairman also went to squander some of the money from the inaugural funds that should have gone to counties for county celebration of the inauguration. His nephew Jake Kabakodi was flagged for $700,000 issue at Nokar. But all of these things are just under the radar, not even on the radar of President Boakai. He says nothing about those things. The people were killed in Kinjaw. You remember when there was this riot in Kinjaw and citizens were killed by the Liberian National Police. Again, the president said nothing. Nothing at all, nothing. So I'm wondering, what is going on? What is going on?
Well, I think, the politicians in Liberia, they have to actually represent the people who voted for them. And I'm not going to give up on President Joseph Boakai yet, because he's just going for his first year. And I don't want to believe that he's still that same old Pakai when he was vice president to former President Eli Johnson said. Now he's a president. He has to make a decision. He has to take decisions. in the interest of his country, in his interest of his citizen, the people looking up to him. Because Liberians are resilient people. They can get tired at some point in time. And if they get tired, it's going to be a disaster. You don't want that. You don't want, you don't want to, keep building up wood so that when the fire comes, you can stop it. So they have to do something. You can create a budget that will represent you, leaving out the Liberian people. And what happened to health? What happened to education? What happened to agriculture? So these people take this money and they buy, a very expensive vehicles, and they take money out of government. And you, the president, cannot take a serious decision against these people. There was the same thing that happened in the pro-poor government. Today, they are passing around. Today, they are former government officials. Today, we have the rescue team. That's why I asked the question. What is the difference between the pro-poor government and the rescue government? So are we going to expect another government to come? We'll call it a delivering government. So maybe that a delivering government will come and deliver us out of the hands of the pro-poor and the rescue. I'm looking forward to that 2029.
So will President Boakai comes back to the country and pretend like nothing happened with $96,000 vehicle bought for Commerce Minister, and that it has to do with MedTech. And this very MedTech that we complain about and beat on the CDC government about as being bogus institution, and now they undercover bringing it back into play again. So like you said, let the Liberian people decide.
Yeah.
The last time I checked, I saw a lot of Liberians out there singing song, and I mean, they were saying that the time, and I was surprised, Dr. Dickey, I was surprised that the people were calling back for George Manuel Weah.
Yeah.
I was listening to their songs in the street. They were singing, look, George Weah, we sorrow, we will wrong you, won't bring you back. But why would the people be crying at this time? President Boakai needs to wake up.
In less than 2 years.
Yeah,
because it's just a year time. The Liberian people start crying. And like, oh no, we prefer the former president over the present president. I mean, it is a shame. I mean, it's a disturbing information. So I agree with you that President Boakai has to get up. He needs to stop sleeping. He needs to get up because he needs to get out of his slumbers. Because if he's not careful, the Liberian people are going to stand against him. He doesn't want that. He doesn't want that because presidents have been impeached in other countries. Presidents have been driven out of their own leadership because they mismanaged the country. We don't want that. Liberia right now, the people, they are in chaos. They are suffering. They can't even afford to get food to eat. And then some Liberians take the social media and overhandedly back these government officials that they are doing great job. What is A? Let's say it. When it's right, let's say it. When it's wrong, let's say it. This is about Liberia. This is about our country. The people are suffering. They are dying from hunger. What can we do to reduce inflation? Why should we have one person living in so much luxurious life and the rest of the people keep suffering? Yesterday, there were the same people that were begging the Liberian people. We beg you, come and take the other government, put us in power. They put you in power. You're doing the same thing that you spoke against. So that appears is so perplexing that we keep seeing the same thing. Our citizens keep, going through the similar problems. We are not making progress. We keep going backward.
So the late Charloe Musu was laid to rest over the weekend. And then former Justice Minister Glorious Musu Scott was on record saying, who killed Charloe, may God see them. And, may God punish them. So are we going to start depending on God to punish people for crimes committed now? Are we going to make our justice system to work?
Well, the former Chief Justice knows the law. She went to law school. She understands the law. And I mean, I'm not a lawyer, but I did work with the Ministry of Justice when we were in Liberia. When I first at the University of Liberia, yep, all those years I was working alongside with Senator Dillon. At that time, we used to work with my former uncle, my late uncle. I mean, the late T.C. Good. So I'm cognizant of many of some of the laws. So definitely, it's the same with the former Chief Justice. She knows the law. So I think she she said government exposed the president. I don't know. I mean, this whole thing, I just don't understand it. This will never happen in America. That piercing. You can go, you can, I mean, nobody just get murdered like that in America. No, forensic tests will be done. The best laboratory testing will be done. And then what's going to happen? They're going to track that person to the point, and whoever did that will be captured, will be arrested. DNA will do it. DNA will break that thing. So I don't understand why we is it. That's why it's so fearful. I just heard the last time that somebody got murdered in their house in Liberia.
Yeah.
Now, I heard that it's not even on the news. The government has not said anything. I don't know how true it is. So it means Liberia is turning into something that people. So it's so difficult. How do we go for vacation? You go for vacation and somebody come and kill you. The government cannot protect you, cannot protect a citizen, cannot even investigate homicide. And people telling us that God will expose the doer of the act. She said it, and the CDC government also. Uh, the guy who was the city mayor, man, for Jefferson Koji also said that whoever killed Charloe Musu must also be brought to justice. And then the former chief justice said God should expose the person who killed Charloe Musu. So the whole thing is a blame game, and it's going to lay to rest. We are not going to find the doer or the murderer of that young innocent lady.
So if you're just joining us, we are almost hitting the what they call the quarter mark of of the show.
Right.
This is the melting pot. Okay, this is the melting pot where Liberians come together to discuss Liberia, the issues concerning Liberia, and we make sure that if you have a voice, your voice can be heard. If you want your voice to be heard, you can contact us, and we can bring you on the show, and you can express your opinion. You look. The melting pot is for everybody's view. No one idea is too small. No other person's idea too little. If you have something to say, you contact us in our WhatsApp numbers under there. We'll bring you on the show when we have the time. All right. So, but again, let me say this, right? Charloe Musu.
Who murdered Charloe Musu?
Who murdered Charloe Musu? Now, who killed her? Now, listen, Mr. Dake. So the situation here is that what went to court was this. She was killed in the house of Glorious Musu Scott, right? Not only that she was killed in the house of Glorious Musu Scott, but the fact of the matter here is that when she was murdered in the home of Glorious, former Chief Justice Scott, remember this now. The house was not broken into. There was no evidence that someone broke into the house.
Mm-hmm.
But then the girl was killed in the house. But then the family is accusing someone from coming from outside and causing the harm. But the police could not find any reason for break-in. But at the same time, there is an argument on which the case was thrown out of the court. For one of the arguments was that they found male DNA on the girl's fingernails. All right. And then, but there's no, I have not, all of that argument, I have not heard whether any male was in a house, whether living in there with the Oma or had broken in there, which of course there was no evidence of break-in. So, I mean, the whole thing is confusing. And then there's a forensic, they say forensic, right? Forensic pathologist.
Investigator? Mm-hmm.
Yeah, pathologist who said he did his own assessment. There was no DNA on the crime scene relating to any male as the other person claimed. So then what is going on? Again, it goes back to what you're saying. I think our Liberian government, national police needs strong capacity strengthening. And how we handle our crime scene, how we deal with investigations, all of those things are important as to how we later on prosecute those crimes that are committed in the country. So I think we should learn from our mistakes. I'm not sure we're going to learn, but we need to learn from our mistakes and correct these things. Another little girl, a so-called attempted murderer, that was on the past, I just finished forgetting him. And say he also walked through for the same lack of sufficient evidence.
Yeah, and that appears, and this is why even the U.S. government we advise citizens to be extremely careful when you go to Liberia, because I'm telling you, you can get hurt, you can get murdered, and there will be no investigation. There's no way you can trace anything. There's no DNA facility in Liberia. There's so much security lapses in the country that there is no way they can investigate and prosecute you fully in the extent to the law. It is hard. It is hard. That's why you have to be very careful. What does it show? The death of Charloe shows that Liberia has a serious security lapses, because if they cannot even find the person who entered that house, and the primary suspect is blaming the government is blaming the parents. I mean, the government is supposed to be proven beyond all reasonable doubt through DNA and everything that this is the doer of the act. But the government is can this happen in America? That appears to?
But if I don't think so. If we go back a little bit, don't you think it's even more suspicious when the Unity Party was even advocating for the release of Gloria's former Justice Minister Gloria's Musu's card before she could even get convicted, then only to come to government and come to power and then have her conviction overturned? Don't you think that raised any suspicion?
Absolutely. In less than a year, a murder case, a homicide case. Can you imagine? The president has a right, but let's look at it. So yeah, it will raise any red flag. Anyone, logically, you don't need to be a rocket scientist. They say, what is going on here? I mean, this is Liberia. This is why you have to be extremely careful when you go to Liberia. Whatever vacation you're going on, you have to be careful, because somebody could just murder you and you just die for nothing. Because there's no DNA to prove. There is no security apparatus to that extent that will prove that, yeah, this person did this, even though they ran away. There's no way they will bring somebody from out of the country. They say the person's a pathology will come and do his own a test and whatever, and then the result. In fact, there was another one that happened. They said the girl was found at a Lebanese main facility. What's her name? Before Musu. Help me.
Yeah, the one that the pathologist.
Princess.
Yeah.
Princess. I don't know. I can't remember her last name, but it was the same thing with Princess. And then today, what happened? They couldn't find out. They couldn't give her any facts, the cause of death. What they said, I don't know, injury or whatever. It just went down the drain. It's the same thing with Musu. So how many people? I mean, it tells you that security is not sufficient in Liberia. The government needs to do more.
The government needs to do more. In fact, they said that girl, they said she died from tuberculosis at that time.
Yeah, they said tuberculosis. Yeah. They said, yeah. I mean, okay, even when you are immigrant, most immigrant, when you come to America, usually before you have a job in the States, you have to do TB testing, right? And then you notice that most immigrants, you don't do the TB, you don't take the TB shots. You have to go and do X-ray, because whenever you take the TB shots, it shows that you have tuberculosis, so you have to go and do X-ray. I mean, so most times they'll say you got to. So maybe, I don't know, is that what went on? Say, well, she had tuberculosis. I don't know, but I mean, that was so, I know, perplexing and discouraging.
One of our viewers said this, and I'm going to read it out because for some reason it's not popping up on our master screen. He says here, Thomas Johnson says, Reverend Thomas Johnson says, what brings about systemic change is ideological differences. You have political parties in Liberia with the same platforms. During elections, we simply change personalities. Does that make sense?
And that's the discussion we're having. That's the argument we're making. We're bringing it out. People starting to see the argument. People embracing the argument from the melting pot. This is what the melting pot was created for. People starting to see that we are not changing the dialogue. We are not changing the ideological perceptions, of the system. What we're doing, we're just taking the old wine in the Liberian way now and putting it in a new jar. So it's becoming a problem. We need to change the system. We need to bring in new breed of leaders. So I agree with Thomas. What Thomas is saying is a very serious issue. 2029, trust me, there will be people on the streets and they will be singing in this either in the name of former President George Weah or in the name of President Joseph Boakai, and they will be defending the hunger that they're experiencing now to say, yeah, he's the best president, and they will be defending even the bad road that they're experiencing now. So this is cultural for Liberia. I mean, they have been in psychology, we got something called conditioning. The people have been conditioned to believe that poverty is a way forward for them. So they have experienced it. They're existing now to survive. So right now in Liberia, the people are surviving and few people are enjoying.
So when we go to the polls to make changes in government, we do not go to look for what the person is bringing to the table in terms of the actual value that they have in the ideology to move the country forward. But we just go because they're popular.
Yeah.
And oh, this man's popular. He's the popular man now, so that everybody going to vote for. But what is the main technical know-how? What is his expertise? What now? I know people say President Boakai has experience, right?
40 years.
My argument at that time was, listen, if somebody been in government for 42 years or 40 years and they say the guy experience, I should be able to look back and see from what they did in the past and show the results. So if I can look back in the past 40 years or 42 years and I can see any results that I can point to, or even in the personal life, I can point to any results. They still living on loan. They still living on talk show hosts for $3,000 every month to feed their family. And that person been even as high as vice president for 12 years. Then what gives me the audacity to believe that this person can change my condition if they couldn't even change theirs? They couldn't manage theirs. How would they manage mine?
But that appears the common people cannot even reason with that. The common people are only going for their bags of rice and their t-shirts. And they were jubilating on the streets. But those arguments came about. Former President Joseph Boakai was vice president for 12 years. What has been his financial record over the years? Nobody wanted to listen. What has been his achievement over the years? Nobody wanted to listen to those arguments. All the people were listening to, they were, oh yes, he has experience, 42 years of experience, and we believe that former President George Weah, he has messed up, even though he miserably failed. But we're going to take him out and give President Joseph Boakai the chance. Now that he has the opportunity, he is doing 2 times even more than what George Weah did. So he needs to get up. We have to bring this to the attention of the president. The common people need to listen to these shows. They need to listen to these arguments. The arguments are on the table. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. When President Boakai was vice president, do you know his budget? He was making over $900 some more $1,000 annually. Check the record and see what was his financial statements over the 12 years. Do you think in America we don't check that? We have to check former President Donald Trump financial record. We have to check Vice President Kamala Harris financial record, her achievement, her involvement into the community, everything before we make a decision. This is the same thing Liberians should do. The people in that country, when you go to go vote, you are voting for your right. Use your conscience because your decision will affect you. It will also affect your children to come. And this is what's happening. How can we change this perception? The people are already used to this way of life. They believe that poverty is a way out for them. Do you think that there will be Jesus Christ that will come? Or there will be Allah that will come? Muhammad will come and preach to them? Jesus will come and preach to them to tell them, say, look, you have to elect new breed of leaders. But even the new breed of people, when they come, what do? Even this, the way they introduce changes in the country also affect the way how they govern the country. For instance, what happening now? See how many thousands of people lay out. We come into education so you can hear some of the worst things that are going on. So again, we are not here to make a judgment. We are at the melting pot. This is the only country we have. We cannot keep silent. We will keep talking until change comes.
There you go. There you go. The melting pot. So now back to your passion. Back to your passion. This is where you wanted to have come to all along. Education. We talked about this on Saturday with Reverend Thomas and myself. And today you mentioned that you wanted to have a say. Yes, it. This is a school. This is a school. The image on the screen is a school in Riverside. It's a government school in Riverside. All right. In Totan. Look at government school in Totan and compare this to our government official writing for the $5,000 car each person, and they change the car after every 3 years. Some of them so far they have gotten 4 cars, some of them 8 cars, some of them 12 cars, and that. Some of them using 15,000 on gasoline just to put it in a generator when they go home. But look at students, look at children in school.
Yep.
Look at children in school in Totan.
Well, Dr. Pearson, the problem with education didn't just start today. It started 2 decades, 3 decades ago. And the most recent one I can point out, when former President Ellen Johnson Sirleaf was president, she admitted publicly that education is a mess. President Weah came, it was no better. And we keep proposing that the best way to change the education system in Liberia, you have to take the bottom to the top approach. And in order to understand that, you have to invest in education. Do you know that the 2024 budget for education is $108,435,214? That amount cannot cover salary expense for the 16 counties, government employees, teachers. And teachers sacrifice a whole lot. I'm a teacher. That's what I have passion for. That's what I do. That's what I study. The sacrifice, a teacher is a second parent to a child. And the reason why I will tell you vividly that the rescue government will fail again like the pro-poor government in education, because they do not have the support. So their government says that they are making the public school attractive. So they brought the fees down. You see, that's a serious mistake. If you want to break down fees, it means that you're going to have a very high subsidies, right? You should have a very high grants that are coming within the system. So we're watching and see. It didn't work during Ellen's time. It didn't work during President Weah time. This system will not work by you reducing fees. No. First of all, you reduce fees. So how are you going to help the teachers? How are you going to pay the teachers? How are you going to provide the facilities for the students to learn? So all their concentration is to make the government school attractive so they can take private schools on a basis. Yes, I own a private school in Liberia, one of the biggest schools in Liberia. Yeah, we're being affected, but we are still good. We have prepared for it. We understand that this situation will not last, so we're preparing for it. We have already prepared for it. We are not perplexed about it. But the reason why it will not work because the government is not supporting education. If they have infused maybe 300 million, within the education sector, definitely I can tell you that Liberia was going, and they will try to succeed. They will try. So tell me now, if you want to send me to Liberia to go teach, how are you going to pay me? If they want to send you to Liberia to go teach, how much they're going to pay? They will actually say, well, and Dr. Pearson, you need to sacrifice because this is your country. Do you know how much you pay to get to where you are today? Education is very expensive. And if you want quality, you have to spend on it. So
Dr. JK, listen, I'm looking at this picture on my screen, and it's saying 1,000 things to me right now. Mm-hmm. Why will a country that is 177 years old, why a country that the president is spending $1.1 million to buy car to ride in his convoy and his vice president convoy? Mm-hmm. Why would a country that is spending $45,000 for one car for 103 lawmakers have school, public school like this. Children sitting down on the floor in the open element and trying to write on their foot. Why in this 21st century? Why? Senator Augustine Chia says schools like this should be closed down. Do you agree with him that should we close schools like this down in communities that have no school at all, and this is the only alternative, or should we take the money from them and build these schools?
But that's why they don't want to happen. They don't want you to take the money from them. They don't want the money to leave from them to go to the citizens. Because when the citizens are educated, it brings about competition. But this is just Riverside. What about Grand Bassa County? What about Sino? What about Maryland, rural parts of Liberia? Don't you think the children are sitting on the ground just to learn ABC? And those are future leaders. So tell me, what will Liberia become in the next 30 years, 40 years, 50 years when we have gone? What do you think that appears? Are you picturing the kind of Liberia we're going to have in the next 50 years from now? Do you see the kind of Liberia we're preparing for the next century? But these guys are riding the best cards. The legislators, they are allocating 119 million for special setting.
Yes.
But they cannot give education while 108 million. So they gave themselves just 119 million, and they give education 108 million. Do you want to know how much they give to health? Do you want to know how much they give to health? Even though we're talking about education. This is so embarrassing. And when we say these things, the same Liberian people get on the radio. They come on the social media and back these people and say they are doing the right thing. But the guys are getting rich overnight. And the Liberian people are the ones suffering. They are going through the consequences of their actions.
So as a result, you have cases like these trying to have an education but poorly prepared, and then we have the WAEC results coming up that out of 33,000 students going to take their WAEC and 21,000 fail. Then we ask ourselves why they're failing.
Yeah, you see that?
The foundation of the education is poor.
Yeah. And that's what we say from the bottom to the top approach. If you want to succeed in education, it's an educational strategy. I give that to them free. You have to start from the bottom to the top. And definitely the country will fail in education because they are not taking education seriously. There is no way that they will succeed looking at the kind of money they invest in the education. Like recently, when the education minister said that there should be no grant, if I was going to be the education minister, I would take the same decision. I support her on that that was the right decision, even though they have to work on the foundation, but they have to fix the system. So even stopping the children from graduating doesn't even fix the system. The real issue is finance in Liberia. The real issue is finance. Education need to get support. Even the outsiders, I mean the NGOs, the donors, when they bring in money, the money goes into the pocket of the government official. During the time when we were kids growing up, our opportunity to attend one of the public schools in Buchanan, demonstration. They used to cook something they call care food. I don't know whether you had that experience. We used to carry our little dishes and things that would get us food to eat when we go to school. Do you see those things these days? I don't see it anymore. Government used to put in money for those programs and used to be so excited going to school, but today it's not like that. Today, the government is not paying attention to education in Liberia. They're giving 108 million into education. They're giving 78 million into healthcare. That's why more people die in the country. How can you get 78 million and you receive 119 million just for pleasure?
Wow.
110 million for security cover.
Wow.
Secret operation.
2.3 million for non-miscellaneous expenditure.
Yeah, 2.3 million for non-miscellaneous expenditure.
2 million for What can that 2 million do for the children we just saw down there just now on the screen?
It could do a lot, Dr. Pearson.
It could build a modern facility for them.
More the facility. Go to Ghana, Dr. Pearson. The people are developing their schools. Go to Nigeria. Go to right here, Sierra Leone, who just won $480 million grant to boost the electricity capacity, the power capacity. While Liberia just got $210 million loan over 40 months, and they were just celebrating. Liberian people celebrate loan instead of grant. Grant, which is a free money, but because they don't have the ability to secure grants and they secure loan, they are happy. And trust me, 50% of that loan will go into the government official pocket.
Right.
That's my projection.
So the Sierra Leone issue you just raised is that they you said 400 and what?
50 million.
It's the MCC loan, right? You
Yeah.
have to reach certain benchmark to get that. And some of the benchmark, I think we are going to fill the next one already, because they include human rights issue, freedom of speech, and how you treat gender equality, all the kind of different metrics, how you reduce poverty and things. And we miserably have performed the past 9 months. I think we're going to fill that MCC evaluation. So I don't think they're depending on that anytime soon.
But that is why they're celebrating the loan, because they know that they will not be able to secure the grant. So they say, well, at least we can able to secure loan. So that's better. I mean, can you imagine the country is celebrating because they got loan? And you have free money out there. People want to give grants. Why don't you work on your governance structure? Why don't you work on human rights issue? Why don't you build up your system, secure your system, so that people can give you free money? They can give you grants so you can pay attention to your country. But these people, they all run to America. When they come here, they feel that, oh, they come and enjoy themselves, go to the best hospital, take pictures, put it on Facebook that they are enjoying life. But when they go back home, what happened? They don't care.
So as we're about to wind down, I just want to raise this. On Saturday, Reverend Thomas Johnson brought this up, and I thought it was fascinating in my mind that back in the day when they had the different teachers training colleges across the country, KRTTI, ZRTTI, those different teachers training program, the strategy was that you use the locals and you train them, and then you pay them while they've been trained, and then you assign them in their environment, in their own environment, which is easy for them to already adapt because they're already there, and then they serve with that level of capacity in their local communities. Should we go back? I mean, I'm not talking about politically go back, but should we go back, Ministry of Education, should we go back in a sincere manner to empowering our different training centers, our teachers training center, from a local perspective? Because like we say in Liberia, if you took the man from Monrovia and you train and say go to Riverside, to that school we just had on the screen, would the man go to that school? He will not go there. Yeah. He goes to teach the private school because it's gonna pay him more. But can you train the locals in the local environment with the best education you can give to a teacher, and pay him well so that he improve his own community, where he got his own interest and where his neighbor's string is buried? You think that's a good idea we can go back to?
Well, it's a very good strategy. The reason why they can't go back to it is because they don't have the resources. You can be allocating in your national budget 108 million, 435,214 dollars overall for education in your country. Do you think you will be able to train teachers in the different parts of the counties and send them there and say, yeah, go, I will pay you this amount? In fact, people who you send into the rural area, you have to pay them attractive amount so they can decide to stay. Because if you're not giving that person good amount of money, they will not want to stay. They will want to come back. They want to come to Monrovia. That's why everybody's just piling up in Monrovia. But I strongly doubt that they have the capacity to do such. It would not work. Just take it off them. They don't have the money. Maybe they're depending on grants. Gary said they gave how many $1 million for grant? If you, I told you, right? How many? Yeah, they gave for grant. I'll tell you that they gave 112 million for grant. So they will use some of those money, into the rural part of the country, train their teachers. That the person, can you tell me the president can come and ask you? Let's say the president like bro call you and say that the person, I want you to go to Riverside to that school there so you can go and be a teacher, be a principal. Leave from America, go to the school you just put on the screen so you can be a principal. Will you do it?
It depends.
They
I,
want you
I,
to sacrifice.
I
They
know, I
say,
know, I know
they
a
want,
friend. I know a friend right now, Doctor. I think you should know him too. Doctor Japa, Solomon Japa.
yeah, I know him.
He was just appointed as the president for the college, the public college in Sino.
But
In,
just
in
recently, I don't mean to cut you up, but during former President George Weah term, all of the colleges, because I was once the executive director for the Association of Liberian University, all the universities in the country. During early time, all the presidents were making $3,000 United States dollar. When President Weah came, they changed the whole thing to 5,000. So he makes $5,000. I mean, besides that's his take-home salary. I'm not talking about he has the college has a budget. Remember they gave them 35,000. Some college gets what 75,000. So yeah, I mean, but I'm talking about the school in Riverside County. That school. Can
okay,
you attract a professional to go there?
talking about that school and given the question you're asking, why will you give subsidy to representative like senator like Prince Johnson, who already has money,
Yeah,
cashing a lot of money at his university in Nima County or his high school? Why will you give them subsidy and not build that school we saw in Riverside just now?
yeah,
Why give money to people who already got the money and don't put the money into places that don't have the money?
right.
So why are legislature putting money in the budget for schools that they have and they already getting exorbitant amount of money from the government already? Then they put subsidy, that subsidy you're talking about, that grant, it comes right in there as well.
Yeah.
They put money in the budget to go to their schools. But then the public schools, like with the one we saw in Riverside in Total, they
Yeah.
train on the ground and they say in open elements, the zinc powder surrounding the building. Why are we doing this to our own people?
Snakes will even crawl and fall on the kids. I mean, we call that missed priorities. You know, the people only care for themselves. They don't care about the citizens.
So 2025 budget, should we remove the money to Senator Prince Johnson School for in our budget? Should we remove the money from what the other guy named Jeremiah Kuhn,
Jeremiah.
clinic hospital he get in Ganta there? Should we take money from the and put the money into the public institution?
And the reason why they get the money because they are the one who making the decision. So they are able to lobby so their institution can get this money. But there are institutions out there that really need this money. So they could give this money to those institutions. And for them who already have the money, you know, they should take that sacrifice. I think that it's all thing about resources. The healthcare sector in Liberia, the education sector in Liberia, there's no discussion you can have about it with all resources. Liberia they don't want to allocate resources for those sectors. And they're going to depend on international community and donors to keep supporting them. This has gone on for centuries. They need to stop this. They need to start allocating money for themselves. I mean, in the education sectors, in the health sectors, in the agriculture sector, they need to grow their own food. They need to start doing things for themselves, you know, and get away from the dependency syndrome.
All right, so we are almost there to call this a night. So what's your expectation about Boakai's returning home after his long visit to Canada and to China, no, to Korea first, to Canada, to China, to US, and now he's going home? What's your expectation? What do you think he's bringing home? You think he's bringing all the goodies? Is Papa coming home?
Well, I hope that Papa comes home so that the people of Liberia will enjoy. And we hope that he was able to lobby enough to get some resources from out there, so that at least can help the country because the people they are starving, they are struggling, they need all the help that they can get. Also, I also expect President Boakai to take some serious decision when he comes back to make sure that these corruptions that are going on that the Liberian people have seen, that he will try to make some changes in his government. People, when you take resources that doesn't belong to you, if you misappropriate them, you have to be held accountable. That's why we have the LACC, that's why we have the GAC, right? They have to audit people. You can just take money that is not yours. So we expecting President Boakai to come and make a swift change. And there is a need for that because time is running out.
Do you have any faith in the MOUs?
No.
Why not? Why not?
Yeah, the rescue government has signed so many MOU over the past 9 months. Where are the yellow machine? Where you know, I mean, I know we discussed that on our previous show, but I mean,
no hope for our listeners. Some people listening right now that they're looking to hear to say, oh, the people coming from America now, maybe MOU will drop. MOU that coming home will bring something home.
No, in my opinion, I mean, title to my opinion, I don't believe that. I don't believe that will happen. It might happen, but not too quickly as a scene.
So you don't even believe that. You don't believe that the refinery going in your country, in Grand Bassa country?
No, I don't believe that. They have promised so many things that have not gone to Grand Bassa. So the oil refinery, I don't know what they're going to be producing the oil from, where they're going to be taking the oil from. Maybe they have done the research. Maybe there is an oil on the ground, there is an oil in the ocean that they're going to be using to refine and be able to sell them. We are yet to see that. I don't believe that. This government has said so many things that they are yet to come to pass. They said in 90 days there will be no car stock on the way. Today the roads are still bad. They said we're going to improve education. Education is still struggling. They said they're going to improve the healthcare sector. The people are dying. They need to do something. Security has a serious lapse today. People are afraid to go to Liberia. They are afraid for their lives because anyone can murder you for nothing, and the security in the country doesn't have the capacity to investigate that. All those, he has a huge challenge. So I don't expect a lot from him when he comes back.
So you agree that we should carry our CCTV ongoing?
I think you should do that. Well, former president said former President George Weah said everyone should have a CCTV, but President Boakai said, "Well, I will just keep quiet on this one."
This is the melting pot. We thank you for being for allowing us in your homes, families. Thank you. I would say in my own parting words, Dr. Daycare, is that listen. I think President Boakai, upon returning to Liberia, should take decisive action on the LDA, the Liberia Drug Enforcement Agency vacancies, where he has the director and his two major deputies are dismissed, what they call suspended without pay, but yet going to 4 or 5 months now, they can't come back on the job. I think it's bad for our country because drug is a major problem right now in the country. And to address the drug problem, we have to have an effective leadership at the LDA. And we're already seeing the impact of not having effective leadership. When the guys went to do a drug bust behind CDC headquarters with fraudulent search and seizure warrant that was not gotten properly, end up leading to a riot that ended up looking like a war scene. Everybody shooting tear gas and throwing stones, even police throwing stones at the protester throwing stones. And the guys are in the CDC headquarters compound, and people throwing tear gas into there. And you know, it's like it was a sad day for Liberia. Even our own business across Lone Star was shut for an entire day. That a lot of revenue was lost for them. A lot of income was lost for them. They lost business that day. We want to see the country move forward. So President Boakai, when you come back, deal with the LDA issue. When you return to the country, please deal with the yellow machine issues. If the yellow machine is not for us, please send the poor machines back. Our AFL is not security for private machines. So please turn the people machines back, send the machine back to your good old friend, your old friends, and tell them say we don't want those machines anymore. And we have money in the budget to buy those machines. 2025, put money in the budget to buy the machines. And let us procure the machines properly. We need those machines. Liberia needs the machines to get involved in agriculture. We need those machines to do our road network. But we want it the right way. We didn't say we don't want the machine, but we want it to be done the right way, okay? And last but not the least, security. You people put a lot of people down from on their jobs. You put a lot of stringent measures, financial burden on pimping riders and things without giving any form of relief. and now a lot of people are out of business. People market were broken down. Some of the markets were put into pickup back and carried out by the police and never returned to the common people. At the end of the day, hardship has increased in the country, and when there's hardship, crime is not far from hardship. And, when there's hardship, crime is not far from hardship. So there's increase in criminal activity now in our country based upon that. So I want to call upon you, please take decisive actions. Make sure that you have opportunity for people to get jobs in our country. And with the jobs, maybe we pray that God will help the country move forward. I know prayer is not the only solution, but prayer is one of the solutions. So I want to say thank you for following us today. Dr. Dakin, if you don't have any message for the people who will close, then this is the melting pot.
Well, I just want to tell the Liberian people we are not going to keep silent. We're going to keep reminding them. And it's important that they keep following the melting pot. We are here every Monday and we are here on Saturday and other days. Dr. Pearson and I, we're going to be here. We're going to come up with the clear truth. We're not going to pass judgment. We're going to leave the decision with you. We're going to tell you as it is. So take this information, treat them as it is, and make your own judgment. Thank you, and I'll see you again. God bless Liberia.
Dr. Deke, before we go, I want to tell Liberian people to please lock your doors and lock your windows. And if you have any issues, you already got the people number in Liberia. They call Freedom FM. They do what they call Crime Stopper.
Right.
And if you have any issues in the night, you can call them. They're already on the air, Freedom FM. You can call them, and they're in studio every morning from 12 until I think 5 or 6 in the morning. If you have any issues, you call them. They can also call the National Police. So we're going to play their song just for maybe 1 or 60 seconds, and then we'll leave you on the show tonight.
Yes, sir.
Let me see if I can find that song quick. The DJ got stuck somewhere. Let me see if I can find it quick. There we go. Yeah, is it?